Hi there and welcome to MiWeek. I'm Christy McDonald. We are so glad to have you with us. Say hello to our MiWeek contributors, Nolan Finley of the Detroit News, Stephen Henderson of the Detroit Free Press. Guys, it's good to be back here with you. I feel after a little bit of a lazy summer that now the vacations are all done with.
Summer's not over, is it?
Well, summer's not technically over, but it feels like after Labor Day, kids go back to school. Finally, when you're calling people to get appointments at work, everyone's kind of back in the office now. It's kind of got that feel, you know?
If you don't have children at home, if your children all grown, it's a great time of year to travel to places that are normally packed.
They're packed with children, right?
Yeah. So get those kids off my front lawn. Yeah. So, but I feel like that there's a lot of conversation about kind of getting back to work, getting back into the swing of things. But I feel like I cannot stop looking at the hurricane coverage. First it was Harvey. Gosh, now
isn't that something?
Irma, which is amazing.
And then Jose coming right behind him.
I know. So it's a lot to look at too. And it's never too early to talk a little bit about the political season. So I opened up my Free Press this morning and I see the epic MRI poll about comparing Bill Schuette with Gretchen Whitmer. Did you see the numbers there? A dead heat.
I didn't see the Free Press yet.
You didn't see the Free Press? Now that's surprising coming from a Detroit news guy. 37% for both of them, but I thought it was interesting, 26% undecided. I know you think it's sometimes too early, but it's after Labor Day, so it's no longer too early.
If you're Gretchen Whitmer, that's great news, because I think the fear among a lot of Democrats is that she wouldn't compete well against Bill Schuette, who's a very well-known name, has won statewide office 2 times, has been around since, what, 1982 or 83 when he first ran. She's relatively unknown, so to start off in a dead heat, that's not so bad.
I know, it's still a pretty big undecided, but they also did, taking a look at what her name recognition was, and 57% of people in the voters said they didn't know.
Which is not, at this point, is not something all that worrisome. You've got a lot of time to build name recognition. If you would have asked the same question of about Rick Snyder this far ahead of the 2010 election, I'm sure the number would have been much higher.
Yeah.
You can buy.
His number would have been higher into the spring, even. I mean, even after he decided to
you buy name recognition. She's got a lot of. She's raising a lot of money. I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, I'm not so surprised by the numbers, because if you're viewing 2018 from today's vantage point, it looks like it's going to be a tough year for Republicans. Now, lots can change. That's why we don't get too excited about polls and anything else until you start to get to the spring.
We can get sort of excited.
Lots can change, but from today's viewpoint, it's going to be a tough year for Republicans.
Yeah, I think if you're Whitmer, you want to build on this. I think if you're Schuette, you're maybe a little jarred by it. He should be at higher than 37%, I think, based on what people think. But
isn't he getting close to announcing something for real? No, this wouldn't be this.
I think so.
We're getting to the time where he should take the leap if he's going to take the leap.
I'm not sure how much all of that matters anymore. Yeah. I mean, what does the announcement itself mean until you have to actually file the petitions? Everyone knows he's running. He's raising money. He's raising money as a term-limited attorney general. He can't spend it on something else.
3 years. I mean, I would tend to agree. I mean, everybody knows he's a candidate. If you ask him, "Are you running for governor?" He'll say, "Well, yeah, I'm running for governor." All he hasn't done is stood up on a podium and filed the paperwork. I mean, Bill Schuette's running.
That advantage, that built-in Democratic advantage, is not just about Republican performance. Now it's also about history in the state, which is that it's really hard to succeed your own party in the governor's mansion.
Hasn't happened since the early 60s.
40s, it happened with Milliken, but he was already in the job.
He was a de facto
So let's talk a little bit about those Republicans and Democrats in Lansing right now, because it's also kind of a refresh for them going back to work. You talked to Mayor Mike Duggan this week about his push for auto insurance reform, which he's been talking about for years now. And getting some conflicting messages from leadership in Lansing.
Yeah, I mean, he sort of laid out some of the details of his plan. It all revolves around addressing these unlimited lifetime medical benefits that Michigan is the only state in the nation pays. And he would cap them at $250,000. And then after that, you go to Medicare or you go to your own health insurance. That's how it's handled in other states. This has been, Free Press did an excellent series in the spring detailing the abuses of this system. Lawyers own stakes in clinics and send clients over and over to these clinics for tests, and under the law, there's no limit to it. Nobody can, the insurers can't go in and negotiate rates. They can't negotiate tests and treatments. You want aromatherapy, you get aromatherapy. You want a massage therapist to come to your house, you get that. There's no limits. And meanwhile, we pay twice as much here in Michigan than the average American driver does for health insurance.
You make a compelling case, though, but now he's getting mixed messages. He's getting some support in the House, but then the Senate Majority Leader is like, well, this is not on my agenda.
Well, he doesn't like the mandatory rate setting, and I think that's it's important, but I think it's also sort of on the side. I mean, you can negotiate how that works, and then get to a space. You don't
entirely need it. I mean, that should not be a deal breaker.
They should get. I mean, the rates should come down a lot if you change to the system that they're talking about. What I think is interesting is that this has shifted from a Detroit conversation, which is where it started, to a statewide conversation. Right? The deal that they're likely to come up with is not the de-insurance model that Duggan was pushing, but something that relieves everybody.
Well, because rates are high all over the state. That's why I think, Meekhoff may find some trouble with his own caucus, because, people are looking at these insurance premiums saying, what the heck here? And it's just, you pay a premium to live in Michigan.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what they take up in the next coming weeks. All right, we have a lot to get to tonight. So coming up for you, a closer look at how President Trump's decision to end the DACA program is affecting families here in Michigan, and the debate in Congress to come up with a solution in 6 months. Also ahead for you, Little Caesars Arena opens in Detroit. A lot of celebration, but also amid some nagging criticism. We will get to that. And it's back to school this week. What can we do to make sure that kids keep going to school? The effects of absenteeism and where Michigan ranks in the U.S. It is all coming up for you on MiWeek. But let's get started first with President Trump's decision to end the DACA program. Quick refresher for you. It was put in place by President Obama back in 2012, affecting 800,000 children who were brought to the U.S. illegally by their parents. They had to have been younger than 16 when they arrived to be eligible and been in the country since 2007, undergo background checks, and meet education requirements. Now, President Trump says it was an abuse of executive power and Congress should decide what happens. There are about 6,700 DACA recipients in Michigan who have jobs, pay taxes, are going to school, and are making a life here, and they are not sure what will happen next. Here's a One Detroit in-depth look. Western High School in Clark Park in southwest Detroit. The rally this week for DACA recipients came just after the afternoon bell.
DACA was rescinded today while you were in school.
Money for jobs and education, not for jails and deportation.
17-year-old Alondra Alvarez helped organize the event.
I stand up here upset, but most importantly, I stand up here for all my DACA friends and family. It affects Southwest and me because that's our families, that's our community, and without a community, there's nothing. And the fact that Trump even has us all going through this fear really tells me are you my president? Are you representing me right when all you're doing is hurting me and my community?
This is not just backward policy that will harm our economy. This is an inhumane and unjust action that is un-American and jeopardizes the security of our families across our country.
As a pastor, morally, this is wrong. You do not punish. I say you do not punish. You do not punish children for decisions of their parents.
We stand with you, and we stand united that Congress needs to take action now.
When our children are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
God bless you all. So right now we have a DACA recipient stepping up to tell his story.
Lincoln Park resident Juan Gonzalez grew up in Detroit.
So I came at the age of 1. I've been here for 23 years now.
Now he goes to Wayne State and works at Quicken Loans.
I have 3 siblings who were born after me, and they were all born here, so they're all American citizens. With DACA, I was able to get a job, buy a house, buy a car, go to school full-time, work full-time. It's been a great time, honestly. It's been marvelous. But now that's all in danger. I know that a lot of people in my situation are afraid to come out, and I don't want to live in the shadows. I'm not going to do that because I feel like I'm an American, and I'm going to stand up for my rights. I don't ask for Congress. I don't ask for President Trump to do any of this. I demand it. It's not just retweets and liking things on Facebook. We have to come out and do this. We have to scream. We have to yell. We have to make people listen to us. I mean, we're losing Americans here. It's people who love this country. I was literally willing, and still am, willing to serve this country in the U.S. Armed Forces. I'm willing to put my life on the line because I feel like I'm an American.
We can't give up hope. I mean, we're still here. So while we're still here, let's fight. That's what we have to do.
Thank you, Juan.
Juan Gonzalez says he's committed to saving DACA. He says he just began a hunger strike with some other local recipients to draw attention to their cause. As for statewide reaction, Governor Snyder said that Michigan will continue to be the most welcoming state for immigrants and dreamers. I'm going to bring both of you back in right now, and I want to bring actually forward a tweet that President Trump sent out on Thursday morning saying, for all of those concerned about your status during the 6-month period, you have nothing to worry about, no action, which contradicts a little bit about the tone the administration took when they announced earlier this week saying that they were going to be ending this program. Nolan, let me start with you and ask you, do you believe that the president should have taken this action this week and said the decision now has to go to Congress?
Well, that's where this decision belongs. We would not be in this situation had Congress passed this measure in 2012. An executive memo is no way to make substantive law, and it kept these kids in limbo all that time because, you know, that is not the sort of security and certainty they need. It could be revoked at any time. I don't think the president wants to send these kids back. I don't think anybody wants to try to round up 800,000 American kids and send them out of the country. He was looking for leverage, and he felt like if he could send this back to Congress, he knows that this is not something Congress can let happen, and neither Republicans or Democrats, for the most part, want to send these kids back. I think he's looking for leverage. I'll sign the DACA bill when you send it to me in exchange for the other things he wants in terms of immigration, most notably his law. I think he's looking for leverage here.
I think it's interesting, though. Again, I think there's a little bit of conflict with the tone coming out of the administration when you talk about the Attorney General saying, well, this opened the door to gangs coming into this country. This opened it for crime. It doesn't really fit with the way that the president's talking about it now, Stephen.
No, and it was interesting to send the Attorney General, who is a bigot, out there to announce this. One of the things that was really interesting about Jeff Sessions' address on this is what he referred to in history as the basis for this. He referred to a 1924 immigration law that was the first time that we really started restricting immigration into this country on the basis of ethnicity. That was the law that banned everyone from Asian countries from coming here. That was the law that banned people from Africa from coming to this country for many reasons. And it's a law that was invalidated in the 50s and 60s with civil rights laws, so it actually has no relevance today. But he referred to it over and over during his speech. This is the kind of signaling that this administration has become really good at, signaling to this ultra far right racist base that, look, we're taking America back to these times when we identify some people as other and we treat them differently. And then, of course, in the policy washout, of course, they're never going to do this. They're never going to round up 800,000 people and send them away, but they will have said to their base, this is what we wanted to do. We delivered on our promises.
So where does this leave Republicans then, Nolan?
Well, I think you heard from the speaker this week. You heard from Mitch McConnell. Republicans don't want this in their lap. They will eventually codify this, and in the end, these dreamers will be better off than they are today in terms of a certain status. Yeah. Congress should have done this in the beginning, and we've got to get back to regular order governing because these executive orders, whether Obama issued them or Bush issued them or Trump issued them, it's not a constitutional way to run this country.
The truth is, these are people who've been in limbo not just since this order. The order actually helped them out. I mean, helped them get legal ID and go to college and get jobs and things like that. They've been in limbo, though, in legal limbo for decades. I mean, they were at the mercy of immigration putting them out, and they couldn't work. They couldn't go to college.
Looking at a Congress right now who's had such a difficulty getting anything done or coming to any kind of conclusion that they've got 6 months to get this done. I'm not quite sure people are going to be very.
But who knows if that's a real deadline or not?
He'll kick that.
What the president said, if they don't do, then it comes back to me, and nobody knows what that means. These folks we saw on, these young people we saw in the video, they are not going anywhere. This issue will be fixed, and if Congress does manage to come to an agreement, it will be the first immigration reform they've been able to do, but I guarantee you they'll do this.
You know, it's easy. I think it's easy for us to sit around a table and say that, but for the people who are out there, we saw in that video protesting, who have given all of their information to the government, they are afraid, and I think that is a real feeling that they don't have that ease. Like, well, they're going to figure this out because.
But their protection was paper thin. Anyway,
but it wasn't paper. It was paper thin from a constitutional and legal standpoint. In terms of the practical implication on their lives, it was much broader. These are people who, again, were able to get legal ID because of DACA. They have been able to go to college. They have been able to start businesses and have jobs. That's not paper thin.
And once Congress codifies the law, their status will be certain. And you can't imagine going into an election year, they won't codify that law.
It's having faith in our government. All right.